A special visit by Greek government officials to South Africa is looking to promote bilateral relations between South Africa and Hellenic, Italian and Portuguese countries to promote trade and economic ties. Joining us for details of this visit is Panos Michalos, Secretary General of International Economic Development in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Greece. Mr. Michalos, thank you so much for making the time to chat to us today. Understanding, of course, that Greece and South Africa enjoy good political relations. We've got a large Greek community in South Africa. But what brings you here for this particular visit?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, we have long-standing relationships, political and economic. However, our bilateral relations, economic relations and trade is extremely low. When the new government entered the government in Greece
yes.
In 2012, immediately we looked to rationalize our priorities around the world, and we identified South Africa as a nation. We must increase our bilateral relations and bilateral investments. It is way too low and does not represent the potential of the most important African economy, South Africa, and given our long-standing political relationship. We have a very strong Greek diaspora here.
Yeah.
I may say South Africans of Greek heritage,
yes.
extremely energetic, and I am here in order to try to create the platform on which we can work bilaterally to increase bilateral trade and bilateral investment.
Take into consideration the fact that Greece is almost seen internationally as the fallen angel. Are there lessons for the South African government and for the South African investor that can be learned from the Greek experience?
I think so, and very significant lessons. In my visit since Sunday evening, I've heard of the shock that the South African economy experienced when South African economy lost 1 million jobs. This in an overall population of 50 million. Imagine if you have lost 1.6 million jobs in an overall population of 10.7 million. It's a shock. We seem to have turned that around. We are leaving now the 6th year of recession. Yeah. Hopefully 2014 will be the first year where we will have a small but growth. And the austerity program that we established and the structural reforms that we have implemented in the last 2 years have delivered fruits. And while we started with a 16% budget deficit,
yeah.
We managed our finances, and this year not only will we not have a deficit, we will have a primary surplus by the end of this year. So the first battle in our war has been won. The second battle is the structural reforms, which we can talk about.
Yeah.
And that's, I believe, where the South African government can also make inroads in order to exploit the potential that your economy represents, a strong global economy.
Mr. Michalos, it sounds like you are very confident that Greece is now out of the woods. Let's talk about those structural reforms. What did it take to get that step out of the woods? And do you think that there are lessons, particularly around those structural reforms, that South Africa should be looking at?
Noisy, it's not easy. We are talking about partners, social partners, economic partners, the government, the business and industry, labor, but you also have the citizens. You must maintain civil peace while doing the structural reforms. And the structural reforms have an impact on the people. The Greek people have lost 40% of their income in the last 2-3 years. We have lost 25% of our GDP. The economy and its people are hurting. However, once they saw a government that was not taking into account the political cost, because it takes political cost to implement the structural changes. Once they see a government willing to do that, then you have the people with you.
Yeah.
And because of this partnership with the people of Greece, with the business industry and labor, we have been able up to this point to have implemented a number of structural reforms that make a more friendly predictable investment climate in order for investment to come to Greece.
Let's talk investment a little bit more. Understanding that Greece is opening up and businesses reopen again, and there must be opportunities that are ripe for reaping. Where should African investors be looking right now if they want to tap into that opportunity?
Very good question. One must look at the competitive advantage that we have, and I believe you have your own competitive advantages. We have the same. One is a similar, I believe. We are a gateway to Southeast Europe, Middle East, and North Africa. That is being recognized by the international business community. Greece is becoming a hub for trade and business conducted, logistics, etc., from Asia, Middle East into Southeast Europe and Europe. As a matter of fact, our port, the Piraeus port, is now the largest growing worldwide seaport, where Hewlett Packard has signed a three-way deal with the port and with the Greek National Railroad Company to exclusively distribute its products in Southeast Europe and Middle East. So we have the geographic location that is a competitive advantage. We are a member of the European Union, so we are the perfect gateway to Europe. And because of all the trouble now in North Africa and Middle East to that part of the world, we are becoming an energy hub. There's lots of investment that is taking place and will be taking place around the renewable energy and natural gas sector. We won the project of bringing the natural gas from the Caspian Sea to Europe. The Trans-Adriatic pipeline will run through Greece to Albania and Italy and into Europe. That is a 1.5 billion private investment, private equity and private financing. As in addition, we have researched, and there are reserves, natural gas reserves and oil reserves in the Mediterranean, the Aegean and the Ionian Sea. So the energy sector is a major sector. Our third, but not least, of course, is the known sector, tourism. Where we, a nation of 10.7 million people, hosted 17 million tourists this year, 2013, and there's a lot of development, touristic projects, mixed development, tourist, leisure, residential, that are being privatized by the state within our privatization program. So there's lots of opportunities in these sectors.
Certainly sounds that like there's a lot of space for foreign investors to come and play in Greece. But in Greece, let's perhaps look at the geographic location of South Africa on the continent, and how are you hoping to leverage off South Africa to expand your Africa strategy, if there is a strategy for Africa?
Indeed. As I mentioned, this government took over about 15 months ago. Immediately, we looked to rationalize and prioritize our efforts. I noticed that South Africa, we have nil investment and very small trade. So we prioritize South Africa as the largest economy in Africa, and we are also moving up in the priority of our interest, Sub-Sahara Africa. But first and foremost, it is South Africa, and exploiting this potential that exists and using the people of South Africa of Greek heritage, who are very much involved in the local business, to be the bridge between Greece and South Africa to move forward. One other synergy that can work are the ports that I mentioned. You are also major port location, seaport location, and so is Greece now, and perhaps there is also a good synergies that we can create.
Before I let you go, very quickly, are there any bilateral agreements that we can expect following this visit to be signed between Greece and South Africa?
Well, I've had many meetings. I've had many meetings with deputy ministers. I will be meeting some ministers this evening. I've met heads of the business and industry sectors. I have met with BUSA, BBC, the leadership of
Yes.
BUSA, BBC, GGDI, DTI,
Yeah.
and as a matter of fact, we will be signing a permanent Greece-South Africa business forum, a permanent one that will perhaps meet once or twice a year, together with the Department of Trade and Investment.
Yeah.
So that is the minimum of the deliverables that I can now say.
We look forward to the signing of that agreement. Thank you so much, Mr. Michalos, for joining us on Beyond Mark.